Hi, Gabriel and Jenny Berkey with Plum Bush Farm. Welcome to our YouTube channel.
Today we want to talk about how we started our pasture from scratch, what kind of grasses we used, and why goats are the absolute best animal for getting a pasture going.
So last spring we were able to buy 4 acres of ground right next to our property. It was existing farm ground, and we had to decide what we were going to do with it. Of course, we wanted to use it to feed our animals, thereby feeding our family. And one of the ways we could have done that would have been to turn it into hay field, but we don't have any hay equipment, and that's kind of expensive, and we were a little bit short on pasture anyway, so we decided that we would rather make it into pasture. So this is how we went from farm ground to pasture.
So we decided to divide the pasture into cool season grasses and warm season grasses. And we started about 2/3 of it into the cool season and another third into the warm season. Now, cool season grass is a grass that its growing season, active growing season, is in the fall and the spring. They start out really early in the spring and they go into dormancy during the hot summer, and then they take back off in the fall again, while the warm season grows its best in the hot summertime.
In general, it's a good idea to have about 2/3 of your pasture as cool season grasses and the other 1/3 in warm season grasses. And the reason for that is because you get the most abundant growth from the cool season grasses, but those warm season grasses are good for drought tolerance in the summertime. And the native grasses, or the warm season grasses I should say, are the native grasses of years gone by in these Nebraska prairie lands where we live.
We also wanted a legume to seed in with each grass, and so we chose a couple legumes, and we wanted those because it's a good protein forage for the goats, and also it puts nitrogen back into the soil.
Now that we knew what type of grasses we want, we headed to our local supplier to pick out some mixes.
The cool season grass mix we chose was brome and orchard grass, and we chose red clover as a legume to mix into that seed.
For our warm season grasses, we chose 2 mixes, one that's a taller one for the outside of our property, and one that is shorter for good grazing for the goats. The tall grass mix that we chose included big blue stem, Indian grass, side oats grama, western wheatgrass, little blue stem, and switchgrass. We also included bird's foot trefoil as the legume with that mix.
The warm season short grasses we chose were little blue stem, side oats grama, buffalo grass, and blue grama.
After sowing the grass, all we could do is watch and wait and see what happened as summer progressed, and as our new grasses and legumes sprouted among the winter wheat that the farmer had planted in the field the fall previous. So that winter wheat made good grazing for our goats in the early part of the year while our grasses were getting established, and then we cut some of it for hay, and later on we cut some of it for straw as the summer progressed.
By midsummer, we were very glad we had our goats for grazers because a lot of our native weeds started taking over the pasture. The goats do exceptionally well at taking down most of the weeds. There's a couple they don't care for as much, but in general, they did really well at keeping the weeds down. So interestingly, weeds like lamb's quarter and there's the amaranth that grows around here are actually quite nutritious and very good for goats. A lot of those weeds are also high in protein, comparable to alfalfa, for instance.
So goats are just the top grazing animal, in my opinion. Starting a pasture, or if you have an older pasture that's been overgrazed and has a lot of weeds growing in it or a lot of little trees coming up, goats are just top-notch at cleaning up the stuff that you really don't want taking over your pasture, and they can improve anybody's pasture. So I'm sold on goats as being the best thing that you can put in a pasture.
There's one thing the goats do not prefer, and that is foxtail. When it's young, and growing and has only a few tender shoots, they will eat it. But we have some problems with foxtail around here, and we're looking forward to the coming years when the other good grass can take over. He's chasing the kitty.
Are you chasing the kitty?
No.
Oh, okay. Where is it? Where's the kitty? Of course, with this being new pasture, we couldn't just turn the goats out on it. We had to section it off. So the way we did that is we used electric fence, which is highly portable, and we would just fence off a section at a time, and we'd put the goats in it for about a week and have them graze that one area pretty intensively, and then we would move them on to a new section. By doing that, we were able to maximize the benefit of our pasture without overgrazing it.
Just for the record, goats do not actually just eat anything. They are very good at choosing the most nutritious part of the plant and leaving the stem or leaving the stalk, and they choose what they eat very carefully, and they're very good at that.
Okay, so that's the story of what we did with our pasture out here and how we got it started, and we are really looking forward to seeing what comes up this spring and how it all turns out. A lot of those warm season grasses didn't really get very big last year. It takes them a couple of years to establish, so we're still looking forward to seeing how well that's all going to work out for us. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for this time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy what you're seeing, you can always subscribe to see everything that we are going to share. We're looking forward to sharing a lot of information and videos on kidding as the season comes on in about another month. So stay tuned.